Okay, we're gonna make a beginner-friendly, accessible little landscape image here. We're gonna use, let's pick a brush. I don't have much experience with these new Procreate brushes. Some of them, a lot of them, I actually haven't used at all. Okay, that one. It's called Nowhere Else under Inks in the new brush set. My canvas is screen size. I did new canvas, just chose screen size. I changed the DPI to 300. And so we're gonna do a little house with some trees and a reflection. It's gonna be simple and easy. We're gonna make it all up. No reference. Here we go. So what I've kind of taught myself about drawing a house, if I want to do an interesting looking building, it was always really hard for me to draw a cool structure. And one day I just kind of did a simple shape like this, and I started adding to it. I thought, okay, well, houses have doors, so I'll add a door. But I'm going to add the door here. But then you have to be able to get to that door. So then we're going to add some stairs. And we're just sketching right now. We're gonna paint this in. So don't worry too much about this. Doors have doorknobs. Doors often have little windows. There's your door. And then you think, okay, what makes a doorway look more interesting? Well, sometimes you have a little bit of an awning that comes out. Yes, this is nonsense. Having this post go down to the stair like that, in the middle of the stairs, that's crazy. So to fix it, I'm gonna hold on the eraser to erase with that same brush so that we never change brushes. And the reason for that is when I used to want to use Photoshop, I'd always see these cool videos, but they'd always use all these crazy brushes. They'd be like, oh, I made this brush, or, you know, this is a Photoshop brush, but I changed all these settings and all this stuff. And I just thought, oh, I don't want to do that. I just want to, you know, I really am just a traditional artist. I like to just grab a pen or a pencil and just start drawing. So that's why we're using a default brush, nothing fancy. And, you know, right now, this is trust the process, right? This doesn't look good. This looks horrible. But let's just keep going. So one thing I don't like about this immediately is this stairway here just looks silly. I don't like it. So let's justify it, because you think, well, why would they put the door up there? Well, maybe there's a bit of a hill situation right here. I'm not a creative person, I'm a logic person. So I logic my way to justifying this choice of doorway placement. Oh yeah, look at that. They built the stairs up so that you can get to the door up the little hill instead of flattening the hill, tearing it down. Okay, so then we're not going to get too detailed yet. So let's say on the other side here, to break up this silhouette, here's a balcony. Balcony, deck, patio, whatever. All right, there's that. You know, and you're like, these are just support beams going down, nothing crazy there. You can add some extra support. You know? Let's make this, I kind of want this to be a winter scene. And yes, fireplaces exist when it's not winter. You know, they don't go away. But to really push that justification of elements, we're going to do a fireplace. Doing random little shapes to make it look like it's made of stone. Fireplaces have smoke. Okay. So this house, let's just cut right across here with a piece of wood. That's all it is a piece of wood. Let's say in the upstairs, they got a little circle window. Crossbar. There you go. Let's add some more pieces of wood. Just framing this triangle of house. And then we got room, so let's just add another piece of wood. And some more pieces of wood. We're going to do some windows here. We're going to do one there. And one here. Right? That's easy enough. They're just little rectangles. Like, well, let's have some fun. Let's put some rectangles beneath there. And then let's shade this side here to give it a little depth. And let's add some crossbars. I don't know what those are called, so we're calling them crossbars. Okay. So then let's say right here, okay? This feels like this is where like the floor is, right? So we're actually going to take that. We're going to just do kind of a janky line across like this. And you know what? We're just going to turn this into stone. Don't need to carefully draw each stone. Just give it the look of some stone, right? Really just making the same shape over and over in different sizes. I mean, it's a nonsense little house. But it's going to be fun. It's going to have some character. So let's give it some some shingles. So I always get stuck on deciding if I want the lines to be parallel going this way or this way. So let's just go this way. Parallel is a strong word. I like big shingles. Big shingles are fun. So then the shingles, just alternate where the start is so they don't line up. I'm not being super careful here. I'm going to darken some of the underside of some of these to show that they're a little bit raised up or something. Gives it a little bit of extra character. Add a little bit of spice to the silhouette there. And then you obviously have your shingles on your little thing, little awning. Now, if I wanted to get real technical, I would probably raise these windows up. Lasso tool, move them up. But I think the point of this, for me, even, is just to kind of relax and just make it fun. So now I'm just lining the edge with wood. And then because I don't want to do another low window over here, we're actually going to do another piece of wood to break up that part of the house, make it look less boring. And then we can continue that on this side. So then if I want this whole structure to really be made of wood, we're just going to do some lines like this. They're broken, they're not solid. And that tells you that the gaps between the pieces vary, and it makes it look a little bit more natural in some sort of strange art way that somehow works. Because if you really detailed it, you would make it look really natural by making it look very real. But you have to go so far to do that. Okay, so here's our little house. I am actually going to shrink it. And raise it up a little bit. Gonna have what I have already just be in the center. A little bit above center horizontally. So now I'm going to real loosely put in some trees. I'm going to do evergreens. I'm going to do, they're pine trees so that I can keep all the needles, keep the green, and also add some snow. Because I don't want to draw a bunch of leafless trees. And obviously you can tell, like, oh yeah, it looks like a pine tree. It's obviously loose and wild, but it works. And actually, I'm going to make the house even smaller. And I am going to bring it down. Because I think what I want is just to have some crazy big trees in a tiny little house. Break up the general silhouette here, add a tree over here. And then one over here. Okay. We're going to do a new layer. underneath that one. Actually, I might have to change brushes because that one's too small. Should I try this one? That'd be wild. This one's crazy. But maybe it'll work. Maybe I'll use those two. So Nowhere Else, I think it was, and Agrarian. So let's start with... Let's make the background color kind of like a bluish gray. Take this brush, let's see how big it gets. Let's do bit of a deeper version of that background color. And this is kind of like I've seen some images of this nature, like a house and a few trees with a reflection. So that's kind of where I'm getting the idea, because I like those. I've seen a bunch of them by different artists, photos even, and I like it, so I just wanted to make one. So there's that. I'm gonna go for a warmer snow tone, I think. This brush is crazy. It bleeds. Okay, that's a good white. Call this like a little watercolor comic look. That's the vibe we'll call that. Okay, so then let's have the ground actually start as this darker color. It's kind of grayish tan. And then let's do just a warmer, brownish, whatever that is, as the base color for the house. I'm not zooming in here because I don't want to. I want to just go with the general feel of the house and what I'm doing. I'm just going to do a darker version of that for the base of the shingles, and that's just in case I decide to leave any of the shingles showing and not cover them in snow. And then I want maybe a lighter stone for these thingies, also known as rocks. Not really worrying about my line accuracy here. Let's do really easy to do too green of a green. Green is the hardest thing for me. So we're going very yellowy in the green. for our trees here. And now, I've never used this brush before. I've never used this brush. This is not my usual workflow. But the point is really to just show that if you kind of just committing to one brush actually helps a lot. And I guess there's two brushes because I have the ink brush and this watercolor brush. But I've found that in trying to use all these different brushes, that makes it really hard to have a cohesion to your piece. It starts to look kind of wild. And a lot of pro artists that I follow and look up to and have learned from just from their YouTube videos, they're often using very few brushes, sometimes even just the basic round brush, which is nuts. That's crazy to me. But it shows you that you don't need a fancy brush. You really, really, really don't. Once you get really used to everything and you can do whatever you want, fancy brushes are fun. But before you get to that point, it's really easy to rely way too heavily on a fancy brush. And I'm not going slow. I'm just kind of scribbling through this. When I thought of this idea, I didn't know what brush I was going to end up using, and so it's interesting that it's this very watercolory brush. It's very difficult for me. It's very scary. Just going to make the ground a bit darker, especially right under the trees. Just kind of around, just adding some variation. We're going to pull it out, because if I want this reflection, that means it's on water, which means it's an island, so we're making it look a little more islandy. And then, let's see, I want some variation of color for the bordering pieces of wood on the house. Let's just do something. Let's do something. Do I want to be fun or not? No, I'm not very fun. It's not that fun. Okay, so then let's make these pieces of wood just darker. That's not fun. I'm not having fun. Basically any piece of wood that kind of counters the general structure of the house. Those, your siding. We're just going to make that darker. Okay. So now I want to add some snow, because that's what I'm feeling. I'm starting to panic, that feeling of panic. So let's say the sun is coming from the left. So I'm using this very light, almost white, very warm color for my snow. gonna do mostly on the left side of everything, left side of these trees, just like this. And this is not the end of it, so you might be thinking, well, wouldn't the sun be melting the left side of the snow? This is just because we're going to do the shadow snow in a different color. This is in a land where the sun is not warm enough right now to melt anything. I actually didn't plan on keeping the line art in either, but it's kind of fun. Like an old comic strip, you know? Okay, and then snow in the shade is often bluer. It's not near as blue as it's often depicted. But it works a lot better to make it more blue in a painting. There's not too much snow in the house. I might not do much to that other side there. Can't really see it. And then let's just cover the rest of this. Do my blue shadow from the trees. And then we're gonna get really dark. I mean, that's not very dark, but darker for right under the trees there. And then we're gonna go back up to a warmer. And I'm not color picking, the color's right here, but I'm gonna intentionally just go back and say, oh, this is about what I had. And that's kind of like something I started doing when I'm trying to do a more painterly thing, because you don't color pick, you just remix more paint, so it's always a little bit different. And that actually adds a lot of pleasant variation. I'm having a hard time, personally, with how soft this brush is. But, you know, that's kind of why we're here. We're just messing around, trying stuff. The whole point of this is to show you that if you just kind of keep at it, keep going, you know, it might actually work out for you. And it might not. And you know what? That's another part of the process. It's okay. I'm going to go a little bit greener and a lot darker before I do the other side of snow. It's fun to make these trees look extra full, and you add that really dark darks in there. They're rarely this full of needle, but man, is it nice. Sometimes they are, and it's beautiful. There's different types. Those ones, the types that are usually are smaller, and I should know all the names because it's where I grew up. And then I'm going to actually take this dark, we're going to droop it over that snow line a little bit. Okay. The dark side of the house without color picking. We got something in this realm right now, so let's just a little darker, a little more saturated. Let's see what that looks like. Oh yeah, beautiful. It's a little bit different, and that's a-okay. I'm just going to take that exact thing, go a lot darker for these crossbar thingies. I don't know what any of this stuff's called. And then my stone is really just kind of something like this. So then I'm just going to do a darker version of that. A little bit of that on the stairs here. Let's see. The chimney, can't forget the chimney. And then the smoke from the chimney. Here's where the only time I want to even be using this brush. It's for the smoke. But that's something I'm doing for me too, is I'm using this brush, even though I don't want to be, to show myself, that I can kind of let the brush determine what I do, which forces me to, be patient, trust the process. Let's add some light from these windows. Make our brush smaller again. Ooh, that's fun. I'm gonna just give a little bit of that light on the snow here, because that's fun, because why not? Okay, before I do any reflection or special stuff here, I'm actually gonna take this grayish, very gray, dark gray, brownish, hardly brown. I'm actually gonna go back to Nowhere Else brush. I'm gonna keep these layers separate for now still though. So on the bottom layer still, thinking maybe right here in this area, but not center, maybe just to the right of center. Even though I told you earlier I didn't want to do this type of tree, it just feels like it wants it. They're not hard to draw at all, you just do what I'm doing right now on repeat. The thing is, with midwinter, and I might make this early winter instead, just because it's hard. Every truly deep winter, every branch is dead. Not dead, I guess dead. I don't know what it actually is. Leaveless. Some of these thicker ones are looking a little too thick, so I'm just pulling them down. But the thing is, there's so many branches on these trees in real life, and it's crazy, and you have to be careful. If you do too few, it just doesn't look good. But this is not a realistic image, and so when do I stop, right? Okay. It's kind of wonky, but in a realistic manner. So we're going with it. I'm going to do quite a bit lighter. And then just on the left side of as many of these as I can tolerate. And by that I just mean I might lose patience at a point here. And I'm not zooming in, so it's not always accurate. And that's okay. Honestly, I'm starting to think that this video is much more for me than for you. This is addressing like all of my struggles with art. Masking it as a video to show you guys what to do. Gonna add a little bit more, like it's frosting like the verb, not the stuff to eat. I'm gonna go way darker because I want this to look kind of aspeny. Some of you might be like, oh, it's a birch. Well, to me, it's an aspen. Okay, so then I'm gonna go back to my blue snow with my agrarian brush. It's definitely darker this color than what I used earlier, so I'm just going slow and being cautious, trying to get a similar angle. I'm actually going to add a little bit of this extra dark over here. And then actually under the porch will be very dark, much darker than that, darker than I had it. So it's kind of fun. It's like a little Christmas card or something. All right. Let's do some more experimenting. Let's try some stuff. I'm gonna merge these two. It's scary, but we're gonna do it. I'm gonna make this a little smaller. Its center. Let's just keep it at the top. And it's quote unquote center, but it's because I left these background mists in there, which I will be adding more, I think. You know what? Let's do that first. So I'm gonna go real big with this brush, very light. Let's keep the blue vibe. This brush is very weird. That's it. Thank you. Because I'm kind of thinking like this little house on this little island is kind of like hidden in the mist. I'm trying to decide if I want the mist to be surrounding it on the outside of it like this. That's kind of cool. Actually, yeah, sure. Yeah, sure. Yeah, why not? Why not, buddy? Okay. Let's try something. Oh, shoot. Brothers. Going back to a light blue here. Snow shadow. Because I didn't do the shadow. The snowy shadow on the trees here. Let me tell you, this is like the most effective thing you can do, in my opinion. Like, as soon as you add this, darker than what you use and bluer, just immediately your brain is like, ah, yes, that's snow in the shade. It is super effective. It's awesome. So far, this video is roughly 1,000 times longer than I intended. But I didn't really plan it, because that planning process of making a perfect video is crippling. Yeah, look at that. And that's kind of the sky color, so it kind of blends it all in. That's nice. Is that a different color than this? Is it darker? It's about the same. I just like this bit of very white here, this light coming through. I'm going to kind of emphasize that. Emphasize this side of the hill. Okay. One thing. My door doesn't look like a door anymore. Maybe I'll have just a little bit of fun. I've been seeing a lot of houses over here in New England with red doors. And it's like, you see it and you're like, ah, man, that should not look very good. But it does. And here's where I'm remembering that I merged my layers. And that's okay. So I painted my red. Oh, that's tough. That's a very red door. Oof. Okay, I'm not that fun. I might keep it, I might not. I just want to see if I go back in time. Let's try maybe, I don't know. Should I keep some green? Is there a Christmassy green door? That'd be fun. That look terrible. I'm very picky about door color, as it turns out. There is one house near me that's got a very yellow door, and it shouldn't work. It just shouldn't work, but it does. Ooh, no. That looks like light, but weird light. No, thank you. Alright, give me a sec here. I'm gonna play around with the color of the door. Maybe it needs to be less bright and less saturated. Okay, that's just light. Redder. Man, this is tough. How do you pick a door color? None of it looks like a door. You see what I go through? This is crazy. Maybe very gray? Much more neutral? Alright, I'm gonna leave that gray. I'm gonna go back to black, go back to my little pen brush here. Need to make it smaller now that I've zoomed out. Can't really see what I'm doing, but just adding some detail here to make it look a little more door. More door, that's good. A little bit of extra black on some of these ridges, just because I did leave the lines in. Makes it look a little more intentional. And this is where you learn that a ton of stuff isn't intentional. You know, that's happy accidents are like the truest thing ever. Okay, still more before I flip it and do the final touch will be the reflection. I just want to see if I'm feeling a little bit of leave left on tree. And I'm using that same pen brush because it's just hard edge. Just a few leaves here and there. Something I struggle with too. Everywhere I've lived, except, well, I lived in California too. There's no fall in Southern California, but everywhere I've lived has been beautiful falls. But when I try to paint the reds and yellows that exist, it just feels fake. It's too crazy. Alright, just a few leaves. Why not? Why not? Okay. Let's do it. I'm going to duplicate the layer. Go back to the bottom one. Going to flip it vertically. Oh, it's so cool. It's the coolest effect there ever was. Now, you can't just flip it and go home. That's just not how reflections work. But because I'm lazy, we're going to try a few things to make it easier on me, on us. We're a team. Our eye level here is a little bit above everything, which does affect your view of a reflection. Reflections are crazy. Really try to put the time into learning about how reflections actually work if you don't already know, because it's nuts. It's not so simple. A perfect reflection has to have a lot of very perfectly lined up things happening. So I'm just using the liquify tool to get things to match a little bit more. Trying not to do big movements so that doesn't look different. I like having, a relatively believable reflection without much effort. That's what this is about. How do I do this without putting in the effort? Well, I'm here to show you, my son. Okay, that looks pretty good. That's believable enough, because what we're going to do is more experimenting. I'm going to take pure white. That's as white as it gets. I'm going to take the pen brush, nowhere else. Don't even remember what it's called still. We're going to do, actually, I'm going to go back to the top layer. I think this is important. Let's go back to the top layer. So I'm going to add, ooh, that's harsh. This might not work out. Let's see. Where I'm claiming is the connection point between the water and this little island. I'm putting in this white line here. And then I'm going to do a few more further out, and this represents a little bit of wave, a little bit of watery stuff going on. All that watery stuff. This is fun. I'm enjoying this. This is going way better than expected. I thought that I would have to record this video several times and just not tell anyone about it. So these little lines kind of show you that the surface of the water exists separate from your reflection. It's very important. This is what really starts to trick your brain into thinking this is happening. It's very cold water. So I'm struggling here because one thing is with frozen water, it's it's ice, so it's very much lighter in color. It's whiter, but I don't want this to be ice. I just want it to be super cold. So we're going to try, sometimes what happens, and sometimes it just looks really good. We're going to curves. If you've never used this, I'm going to teach you the very little bit I know. Because what I want is, I want to make this a little darker. But I'm going to start by making, so this top one, dragging it left, keeping up that top line, makes it lighter. The bottom one, we're going to do the opposite, makes it darker. Because I love when water has like this really dark reflection. Like it's really cool. It's almost like it looks cleaner and darker and more saturated, which it could be the case, you know. So let's see. Let's do not too much. I don't want to be extreme here. Gotta be careful. And then I'm gonna click on the blue, drag my little dots around and see what I like. Make it a little bit bluer, because why not? What does this one do? That makes it a lot warmer. Ooh, check that out. That's cool. That just looks cold. Do I like that? Yeah, why not? Okay. So, see? That's cool. All right. That's what I was thinking of trying. So, one layer beneath, we're going to get a blue, a nice dark blue. Go back to our agrarian brush. So this is what I was talking about, the water, that dark water that ends up having just a great reflective nature, like dark glass. And this might not work. It might work, it might not work. That's how this whole painting's gone. Who knows? I don't know what I'm doing. You should watch someone else's YouTube. Okay, so I'm doing some directional left and righties here to make sure that my brain registers this as a flat horizontal surface. I'm going to rectangle select. I don't know. We're going to go to, since my horizon's not perfect, we're just going to eyeball it. So I'm going to select there. I'm going to invert my selection. We're going to go to Gaussian blur. This is that darker background color I just put in. So we're just going to blur it. And then, because I moved this up, we're going to take, what is this called? Smudge tool. So I'm going to go to my paintbrush, which is on agrarian. To really be consistent here, I'm going to hold down. We're going to smudge with the agrarian brush, because this straight line I have down here is no bueno. Just going to smudge some of that around, soften it up. Yeah. So I think lastly, I'm going to merge these two. So now we're back to just 2 layers. There's 2 more things I want to do. And we're going to take the bottom layer. We're going to do motion blur. I'm going to drag down with my Apple Pencil. And that literally moves it in the direction you're dragging. So right now it's a vertical blur. See how that looks? It looks pretty good, but do I want that? So I'm going to drag it back up to roughly nothing. Now I'm going to drag to the side, give it a horizontal blur. See how that looks? That's too much. Okay, I'm going to do a little bit of a vertical blur. Not a whole lot. 10%. Stop there. I'm going to go back. I'm going to do Gaussian blur. I'm going to drag real slow. It's very easy to do too much of this. Actually, we're going to go to too much. And actually, that looks kind of good. We're going to do less, though. I think we're going to do less. Yeah, let's do about there. So 3%. So 10% and 3%. Now, check this out. Merge it down. Look at that. We're brave. Liquify tool, because it's bothering me that my, what do you call this? Horizon? My horizons are faulty. I don't have a fancy way to check this, so I'm just going to use the, yeah, there you go. Look at that. Perfect. Yeah, I mean, is that it? What do you think? You know, it's simple, but it's fun. It's like a little animated still shot, little kid still shot. Little Christmas comic, Christmas card, something like that. It's kind of fun. There you go. Well, if you like this style, now you know how to do it. If you don't like this style, now you know what not to do. So you're welcome. That's right. Not thank you for watching, but you're welcome. But seriously, thank you for watching. Oh, I didn't sign it. Should I sign it? Ugh, I don't know if I'm proud enough to sign it. Not much of a signer. I'm trying to get better. Got my little signature stamp. They always do traditional paintings, are always in red. Real big. What happened? That's not the red I chose. How about right there? Beautiful. Yeah, that was fun. A little adventure. Yes, this is my second outro. You're welcome. How do I stop?